He was a great dog, a great friend.
The best dog a kid could have.
When you lose someone you love, they never really leave you. They just move into a special place in your heart.
I don't want him in my heart. I want him here with me.
I know. If we could bring him back, we would.
This movie has so many great, beautiful themes of life and death and resurrection and getting a second chance at life. Thinking about all the characters who have died in your films, if you could bring one of them back, give one of them a second chance, just because you miss them a little bit, which one would you like to bring back?
Well, I love them all. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's like, that's why I love Frankenstein. It's like, you know, there's no such thing as life or death, because they're always coming back.
Right.
So, I mean, that was the sort of theme of this, and that was kind of the important thing, is having that dog and having that relationship when I was a kid and liking the Frankenstein movies. It just seemed like a natural fit to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people don't realize that one of the very first things you ever did was the live-action short film Frankenweenie in 1984.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between the Tim Burton who was fired by Disney in 1984 because of how dark the film was versus 28 years later, the Tim Burton who is being celebrated by Disney for making this Frankenweenie?
Well, we'll see. You know, it's not over yet. No, I mean, it's... the thing for me that made it different was going back and looking at the original drawings, and, you know, I love stop motion animation. So the idea of doing it, you know, black and white, 3D, stop motion, and adding the other kids, the other monsters, kind of the teacher, things that I was thinking about, the kind of memories that were all sort of based on this thing, it felt like a whole new project for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, there were several moments in this film where I got emotional. I was getting teary-eyed, and I've got to tell you, my go-to cry movie, I cannot get through the end of Big Fish without just breaking down into tears. If you were going to go back and kind of rewatch your films, what do you think would be that one moment that would be hard for you to watch, hard for you to get through?
Well, it's hard for me to watch any movie I do, so I actually, that's my problem. I wish I could sort of enjoy them, but you know, I mean, there were moments in Scissorhands or Big Fish and this that, you know, are probably some of the more emotional things. Mm-hmm. And you know, I get very emotional when I watch films, especially when I watch them on a plane. I don't know why.
Really?
I get everything. I start crying even if it's not a sad movie. I don't know.
So if I'm ever on a plane with you and I just see you crying,
Yeah,
I should it's going to
don't,
be okay.
Don't worry about
it's
it.
fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the movie is.
It doesn't matter what it is.
So I love that, you know, you pay tribute to a lot of the movies I think you loved growing up. If there's a kid right now who is growing up on Tim Burton movies, he loves your movies, and he's going to make a tribute movie 20, 30 years down the line, what do you think are going to be the attributes that make up that movie?
Oh, I don't know. That sounds a bit scary, because I don't like images. I don't like pictures of myself, and the idea of something about me scares me.
Why is that, do you think?
I don't know. That's why I'm not an actor. I think it's nice to remain behind the camera, you know?
You know, I don't, you know, whenever my first childhood dog passed away, I was blown away by how much that it just crushes you.
Absolutely.
Is there anything sadder than, I mean, anything universally sadder
I
to
think
people?
especially when you're a child, it's the first, like, your first love. If you have a pet that you love, you know, it's such an unconditional love. I mean, especially, you know, I had a special dog that was that way. And it's like, you know, it's like your heart. It's like something that is so special, because you don't get that with people, that kind of unconditional thing that you can get with a special animal.
Do you think that the loss of a dog, that fear of losing a dog, do you think that's the most universally sad emotion that you've worked with?
Well, I think it's the first time you experience that. I mean, the dog I had this disease where it wasn't supposed to live for very long. It ended up living quite a long time, but there was always this specter of we might not be here for very long. And you know, and again, that's the sort of first time, you know, you're dealing with those kind of themes that are quite difficult to understand.
Right.
So that's why in this film we try to sort of present it, but give it sort of more positive messages.
Right. And I'm always blown away by how much emotion you can pull out of claymation, whether it's Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride. If you could have seen any of your past films, perhaps done in claymation, which one do you think would look the coolest?
No, I mean, this was one that really felt like really the right one to do. I don't know if I would say that about any other film, but this one, especially since, you know, it did a lot of drawings early on for it. So it was just something about capturing the more simplicity of that. And also, you're right, it's like when the animators take this little, you know, inanimate puppet object and give it the kind of personality and life. It's just, it's beautiful.
Right.
So.
I was watching you before when I was standing out there, almost kind of be a director because you were kind of adjusting the tail. Do you still find yourself kind of even directing
Well, it's such
today?
a tactile thing, you know. I mean, that's the thing. If you just feel these, that's what's so beautiful about this medium. You know, you walk on and there's a set and it's lit and again, one frame at a time.
I haven't gotten to hold one yet.
frames.
They're not letting me touch them yet. I haven't gotten. Oh, Tim Burton is letting me hold. Wow, that's not what I expected.
Yeah, but they're quite beautiful to you know.
It is. They're works of art.
Yeah, they
truly.
are. They really are. So that's the beauty of this medium, and I think again for this project it seemed right.
Absolutely. Well, give me the wrap, Mr. Burton. It's always such an honor to get
Thanks,
to.
man.
It's truly.
Nice to talk to you.
I'm continuously amazed at the amount of emotion that you can pull out of stop motion animation. Looking back at all the great films you guys have done, if you could reimagine one kind of in that stop motion kind of style, which one would you like to see?
Oh, for me, Three Amigos, definitely. Yeah.
That would be
Oh, I
great.
love that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'd go with Home Alone.
The possibilities, I'm
'Cause
telling
it's
you.
so animated already with in Home Alone, what the kid does
Right.
when the
I'm changing
to
mine.
prepare the house for the burglars. That would be even better.
I love that.
I'm changing mine.
What's yours?
Captain Ron.
That would be brilliant. I love that movie.
Ah,
by the way.
thanks.
That's a great movie. Whenever you go back and you rewatch these movies and all you can hear are your voices, do you notice things about your voice that perhaps you've never noticed before?
Yeah. Well, when I watch the movie, excuse me, sorry. When I watch the movie, I'm
Ask
just
that
completely.
question again, and then it's out. This will be all day. Just finish just saying. Do you notice different things in your voice?
Mm-hmm. Do you notice different things in your voice that you've never noticed before?
Hey, what I'm saying. Supposed to be quiet. This word.
Oh, they'll be
Catherine.
fine.
Oh, sorry. When watching the movie,
Yes.
no, completely into the characters. But when you're recording, yes, and you have headphones on your head, because
Yeah.
you don't usually hear yourself that
Right.
way, and hopefully no one else does either. But when you put the headphones on, it's all you can hear. You hear every bit of anything in your lungs.
Oh, yeah.
You know where your teeth are exactly in your mouth, and where your tongue is. It's frightening. Yeah.
But like
frightening.
anything, what I love about animation is that, sometimes if you're doing a film and they have, 3 hours to shoot this by a restaurant or something, there's pressure to get it done. And maybe they'll do 4 takes because that's all the time they have. In animation, they have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And when you're working with someone like Tim Burton, you feel so confident that you just know he's going to pick the
Yeah.
absolute moment, so you just kind of spew it out and feel
Yeah. And
loose
he-
to give him the raw footage.
Right.
And he knows what he wants too, so you're not there doing it unnecessarily for hours.
Absolutely.
He's so clear up front,
Yeah.
but clear in a way that still allows you to feel like you're inventing,
Right.
that you're in on it. It's
Now,
a really great
when you
collaborator that
work
way.
with someone like Tim, and obviously you guys have worked with him before, does time or the subject of the film, does it change him at all, or is it still the same Tim Burton that you worked with years ago?
Oh, you mean compared to working on a different
Right.
movie? Is he a different man?
Right.
No, people around him are different because he's just so much more of an icon than he was when I first worked with him.
Really?
Yeah, I think people around him.
Well,
there's a
you
different
worked
energy
with
around
him,
someone.
what year?
Beetlejuice.
In
Beetlejuice,
the 80s.
86?
Yeah, and I worked with him in
87?
'96.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
he was already back. But
The energy around, don't you think the energy around him has
oh, the
changed?
energy,
Yeah,
but
not him.
he is just
him.
still. I was always amazed when I first with him how kind of sweet and loose and joking and what do you want to do and,
Right.
Yeah.
and not in any way what you might expect. And I felt the same way in this too. He's just playful. He loves to laugh and
Yeah.
he's really knows what he wants, so he
Yeah.
doesn't have to put on an air of a guy.
Not at all, and a great sense of humor
Yeah.
about himself, about
Huge sense of
everyone,
humor.
about the characters.
Yeah.
When he talks about the kind of people that he might want you to think of when you play a certain character,
Mm.
and he'll talk about like someone on television. You go, they're so scary.
Yeah.
I love the people that scare him. I would say, generally speaking, are people who take themselves really seriously
Right.
and have no sense of humor. And I'm generalizing here, but it's like one of the things that scares him most. Where it's the outsider, the people who don't feel like they belong, the people who don't take themselves seriously, that he has such kindness towards.
Right.
Like Tim once said, told me this is when we were doing Mars Attacks, that when he was a kid, he lived in Burbank, so he went to see Hollywood Squares. And in those days, there was this guy named Paul Lynde, and he was real funny. And but he said the second that lights, they went to commercial, he said, "Give me the powder puff." God, no, not that one, the other one. And he said that scared him more than any kind of monster.
Well, because I was told going in, like don't touch the models, and so he was kind of, describing it. I said, well, I've never. He said, well, when you touch one, I said, I've never touched one. He goes, here. He picked it up and threw it over to me, and so I'm like sitting there holding Sparky in my hand, thinking that Disney was gonna swarm in. But it was. I mean, I feel like that kind of captured.
Is it kind of soft?
It is. It's kind of squishy, which I didn't.
It's like a
expect.
foam.
Yeah.
A kind of foam, isn't it?
For some reason, I just figured like I'd poke my finger, there'd be like a hole, like a clay or something. That's just what I imagined. But now I know. Now I know.
You didn't hurt Sparky, did you?
I hope not.
Okay.
First interview of the day, there'd be a big finger hole in all the rest of the interviews.
Terrible.
I could talk with you guys all day. It's such an honor to get to sit across from you. The
Thank
movie
you
is
very much.
incredible. Cried my way through it, and such a beautiful film. So thank you so much for your time.
I'm sorry, boy.
Sparky! I can't believe it!
I've got to tell you, when the 90 minutes ended and this movie was over, I was telling you, I was wiping the tears away, but I was so fascinated with your character. I kept wondering like who he was, where he came from, what was his backstory. I mean, even though we don't get it in the movie, as an actor, do you come up with the backstory yourself just to kind of have that?
Well, the script indicated, it said he's European, but he's not from Hungary, he's not from Germany, he's not from Russia, but he's European. So I decided to do a generic, sort of Slavic sound. That lowered the voice as well. I got down to here, back here, so I felt a very interesting, passionate character, you know what I'm saying? Anyway.
On YouTube, there's a clip available of your lightning monologue. It was one of the first clips that were made available to people. And people were commenting saying, if only I had a teacher like that, I would have paid attention in science. Did you have any sort of like a great, passionate teacher that really inspired you?
Well, I had some wonderful teachers in the theater. I mean, I also went to art school before that, but Lee Strasberg and Harold Klerman and Leah Kazan and those kinds of people were all passionate. And, I mean, I quit a job as an artist on a newspaper to become an out-of-work actor, and I fortunately fell into the laps of some great teachers. And they were passionate. Crazy, but passionate.
Do you think it's funny you mentioned the word crazy. Do you think you need to have that almost crazy? Because he almost kind of has a bit of a crazy spark to him.
He's a little nuts. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, and I like that about him. I like the fact that, he's the catalyst. He inspires that kid with the frog, the kid, wheels start turning. And, and also he's, he's certainly not diplomatic. I mean, to do what he does with the students' parents is not necessarily a smart thing to keep your job. Anyway, I liked him a lot. I mean, I really liked him, and I thought he was fun. And as a result, we played, Tim and I in a recording studio. And the thing that impressed me most was when I saw the film. If I had been on camera, I would have played it exactly the way it was animated. I mean, that's what knocked me out. Behaviorally, he's exactly as I saw him. Now that might not have happened. The animators are, working off a voice. And, but I swear, I mean, I was like, that's the guy. and that pleased me.
The honor of working with Tim Burton before you won a much-deserved Oscar for Ed Wood. Is there a difference between the Tim Burton you worked with for Ed Wood and the Tim Burton you worked with for Frankenweenie?
Not really.
Same guy?
Tim is Tim. A good director, creates a playground for actors and opens the door and lets you play. I really haven't been directed by anybody in 30 years. I come in with stuff that I think about, and I never met two people who are alike in life, and so each character has different predilections, different ideas, comes from different places, and that's the fun of it, is playing. And with good actors, stuff comes out that You know, all an audience wants to believe is what's going on is happening for the first time ever. That's what good acting is about. You don't want to see the rehearsals. You don't want to see the slickness or the glibness. You want to see two people or more exchanging stuff, and that's exciting to me. And now, working alone in a recording studio, you have to imagine what's coming at you. You have a script, and you're basically playing with. But I grew up in radio, so I did a lot of casting in my head and set designing in my head as a kid. I mean, radio was great because you created the characters, you created what they were wearing, you created the environments, and when television came out, I was disappointed often in some of the leading men. They didn't look like I expected them to.
Right. Right. Well, they're giving the rep, Mr. Landau. It's such an honor to get to sit across from you. I could talk to you all day.
And I could talk to you all day.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. It's such an honor.
Your dog is alive! Sparky, shh. Easy, boy. I can fix that.
So, I gotta tell you, I grew up watching movies that were not appropriate for my age, all the classic Tim Burton movies, and I'm telling you, this would have been one of my favorite films, you know, when I was growing up. I mean, were you guys allowed to watch those Tim Burton movies growing up? You guys saw that?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been one of my favorite directors for a long time.
Absolutely.
So
What are the ones that really kind of stand out to you?
I even though it's not really Tim Burton-y, I really like Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I love that movie.
Yeah, no, I think that was like his first movie. And Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right.
It was like, our family is like obsessed with that movie.
And for me, A Corpse Bride, that was the first Tim Burton film I actually saw.
Nice.
All the way through is one
Right.
thing. And then being able to see it and just from that moment on, just seeing how he was different, how he animated it. He didn't use real live actors. He just, in shapes from his sketches, everything. It's just everything about that movie made me fall in love with how he animates and how he forms and takes inanimate objects or regular objects and then turns them into these real moving souls.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm always amazed at how much emotion you can pull out of the stop motion, even though they're
Absolutely.
not actually, animate objects. Thinking about your favorite Tim Burton movies, if you could see one of the live action ones perhaps done kind of like this, maybe in that stop motion sort of style, which one would you like to see? Which one do you think would be the most interesting?
Edward Scissorhands.
That would be cool.
I could see that too.
That would be awesome. I'd like to see kind of like how
Because I think it looked a lot like
It looked like
as
it
close
would
to
be
stop motion
Yeah, at the
as
time.
a live action.
Right.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. Now, whenever you guys put the headphones on, because sometimes I've had to track stuff in studio before, and you can actually hear your voice in your ears. Do you start to hear things that perhaps like you'd never heard in your voice before?
For me personally, it's not hearing it actually then during the recording. It's either when I loop stuff and they have the footage and I'm able to see the character, because normally I do live action stuff. So being able to see a different looking me and also with a different style of voice, because
Right.
I do a Peter Lorre impression, I didn't even know it was me. And I sit there and I'm like, that's me. Is it me? That's me.
That's a
So,
good sign, though.
it
Whenever
is,
you
it
can't
is,
recognize
because it's like,
yourself.
that's awesome. So
That's amazing. Now, one of the beautiful things about a lot of Tim Burton movies is that it's about the beauty of being different, the beauty of kind of standing out. And I was always a kid, like I said, I was watching the weird, dark movies when I was a kid. I didn't quite fit in. Being an actor, being in this business, is it more beneficial to be maybe a little bit different from everybody else, to maybe kind of stand on the outside of the fire?
Yeah, I think a little bit, especially with Tim Burton movies. I mean, yeah, like you said, all of his movies are kind of about like the outcast
and
kid, I guess.
and I'm different in real life. I mean, I'm always if I was in a public school, I would probably be the one who would be bullied or something, because I am different, and I wouldn't care. I mean, I'm different, and I love being different, especially being in the business, because I'm not saying I want to stand out in a bad way, but just being able to stand out and say, listen, I'm my own mind, and I don't need to be a part of this large crowd
Right.
of sometimes robot-like actions. It's just me being me, and I'm comfortable with being me.
Right. There are a lot of people that are the same that have never worked with Tim Burton. And you look at someone like Johnny Depp, who was obviously cut from a different grain of most Hollywood actors, and who is a constant collaborator. So obviously it's
Absolutely.
beneficial.
Absolutely.
You talked about the impression that you were doing for your voice.
Yes.
I want to touch on that for a second, just for people that don't know what, because I thought it was incredible. For people that don't know what that impression is, maybe kind of describe that a little bit. Can I get a little bit of a sample?
Well, absolutely. But leading up to that, actually being able to do an impression, because I love doing impressions all the time. I'll do them at home, I'll do accents, I'll do whatever, and I'll do them everywhere. And so and being able to actually do that as part of my career, as part of this of acting, it was such a blessing and so awesome for me, because it's like I get to take what I love and now even put it into something else I love. And so during the audition process, I only had, I hadn't seen Peter Lorre, but I knew who he was. I knew the Igor kind of character. And then being able to watch like Casablanca and Maltese Falcon with my mom leading up to it, it just was able to like lock it in, and it was practicing it. I would practice it all the time. I would do it at home. It's like one of the things I do now. And so it would lead up to something I would randomly go, "Hello, Victor, how are you? We're here being interviewed. He's a very nice guy. I have a question, though. He's wearing all black. Is there something to do with that? Because it's all black around here."
That's amazing. I'm sorry. That is awesome.